Giacomo was sitting at the restaurant table, staring out the window, when the door opened and the imposing figure of Riccardo entered with an air of arrogant confidence. But let's take a step back. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next stories. Thanks and enjoy. Giacomo was a man who exuded experience and wisdom. In Modena, in one of the most renowned auto parts companies, he had dedicated almost all of his working life, becoming a pillar of the sales department. He was admired and respected by his colleagues, not only for his professional skills, but also for his ability to understand people and manage the most difficult situations calmly and rationally. Born and raised in a modest family, he had always had a strong sense of duty and an unwavering commitment to work, values that he had tried to transmit even to the youngest he met along his path. His relationship with Lorenzo, the previous head of the department, had been one of the pillars of his career. Together, they had seen the company grow from a small warehouse to a vast complex with meticulously organized departments. They had supported each other, facing challenges and overcoming obstacles. When Lorenzo announced his retirement, it was an emotional moment. During the emotional farewell at the company, Giacomo received an unexpected proposal. Lorenzo had recommended him as his successor. But Giacomo, aware of the weight of that task and feeling the weight of the years, decided to refuse. His decision was greeted with respect, but also with a hint of melancholy. Riccardo's arrival marked the beginning of a new era for the department. Young, determined, with an impressive resume, Riccardo had been chosen to bring a breath of fresh air and innovation. However, his lack of empathy and his detached approach immediately created a barrier between him and the rest of the team. The employees, accustomed to Lorenzo's warm and fatherly guidance, continued to turn to Giacomo for advice and guidance. This attitude of their colleagues did not go unnoticed by Riccardo, who began to perceive Giacomo as a threat to his authority. As the days passed, the tension between them became more and more palpable. Riccardo, convinced that Giacomo was undermining his role, decided to act. He called him into his office, a cold and impersonal environment, and confronted him harshly. Giacomo tried to explain the situation, but his words were abruptly interrupted. Riccardo had already made up his mind. Giacomo would be relegated to a marginal role, far from the heart of the action. He was transferred to an isolated desk, deprived of his most cherished task, that of managing customer relations. In his place, Richard assigned an intern, a young man with eccentric manners and apparently uninterested in the work. Giacomo, although tried by this situation, tried to adapt to the new role. Patiently, he tried to teach the young trainee everything he had learned in decades of work, but every effort seemed useless. The boy showed no interest, and the situation soon became untenable. Giacomo tried to speak to Riccardo again, expressing his concerns about the intern's ability to handle such delicate tasks, but was once again arrogantly rejected. The situation reached breaking point when it came time to renew an important contract with a long-standing client of the company, Anna. It was a contract that Giacomo had always managed with care and that represented a significant part of the company's turnover. Knowing the importance of that agreement, he asked Riccardo to be able to participate in the meeting, at least to make sure that everything was going well. But the man, overcome by his pride, categorically refused, determined to handle the situation alone, accompanied by the intern. The meeting was a disaster. Riccardo, unprepared and without knowledge of the history of the relationship with Anna, soon found himself in difficulty. The intern, nervous and disorganized, was unable to provide the necessary information, and the negotiation ended without any agreement. When all seemed lost, Richard, unable to accept failure, decided to blame Giacomo in front of everyone. At this point of the story, if you're enjoying it, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. In a cold, detached voice, she accused him of not having adequately prepared the intern and of not having properly informed him of the details of the negotiations. And with icy calm, she fired him, ending decades of service at the company. Giacomo gathered his things with a resigned serenity, knowing that his time at the company was over. He left the office quietly, taking with him only the memories of a long and satisfying career. A few days later, he was in a restaurant, waiting for his partner for dinner. He could not imagine that the evening would take an unexpected turn. While he was sipping a glass of wine, the restaurant door opened and Ricardo entered, accompanied by a look of sufficiency. He approached Giacomo with a mocking smile, ready to humiliate him in front of the customers. But the evening had a surprise in store. Shortly after Ricardo entered, an elegant figure approached Giacomo's table. It was Anna, the customer Ricardo had tried unsuccessfully to impress. With a warm smile, she turned to Giacomo, completely ignoring Ricardo. "Giacomo, I'm glad you came. I don't trust anyone else to negotiate this contract." Ricardo remained petrified, unable to react. Giacomo, calmly and competently, took control of the situation and the negotiation resumed. The ease and confidence with which Giacomo handled the details of the contract demonstrated once again his unparalleled experience. At the end of the dinner, Anna and Giacomo found an agreement that satisfied both parties. The contract was renewed, and the company was saved from a possible disaster. Ricardo, humiliated and aware of his mistake, tried to apologize to Giacomo. "Perhaps I misjudged. It seems that you still have a lot to teach," he admitted with difficulty. Then, with a rare moment of humility, he proposed to Giacomo to return to work in the company, finally recognizing his value. Giacomo agreed, but only on one condition. "I'll come back, but I don't want to have anything to do with green-haired interns," he said with a smile, suggesting that, despite everything, his irony and wit were still intact. This story teaches that true leadership is not measured by authority, but by the ability to recognize and value the experience and wisdom of people.